there, home bakers. It's Stone in the Mountaintop Kitchen. Today we're baking my everything but the pumpkin pie cookies. Soft, spiced pumpkin dough loaded with white chocolate, toasted pecans, and tart dried cranberries. Cozy autumn flavors in every bite. And they're perfect for sharing, or maybe not. Okay, so let's get started with these everything but the pumpkin pie cookies. Now, I'll be giving all of the quantities and ingredients right here on screen below. Also, if you're watching on YouTube, in the description box below, and there'll be a link to the full recipe in my Substack newsletter, also in the description box below. Okay, so these are New York style cookies, so they're going to be big and chunky. So we're going to start with cold butter. And the reason we want to use cold butter is we don't want these to spread. So we're not going to cream the butter and sugar as we do normally in cookies, where we do want a little bit of spread because we just don't want any spread. So I have cold cube butter. I'm going to put that into the bowl. Get all of it in there. And I have some brown sugar. And let's get all of that in also. You don't want to leave any in the bowl. And I have some granulated white sugar. So let's get all that in as well. And we're just going to beat this, for maybe about 3 minutes. We want a chunky, sandy texture where you still have some big clumps of butter coated with sugar. We do not want to cream again. So I'm going to start this on slow. And let's let this go for about 3 minutes, and I'll show you what we're looking for as soon as we're done. And if your butter pops out, just throw it back in. Let me show you what I have here. Let me just reach in and take some of this out. So you can still see big chunks of butter. It's very clumpy looking. This is exactly what we want. We don't want to cream. So that's looking great. So that's just what we want. So we're going to put this aside and get our dry ingredients together. Okay, for our dry ingredients, we're going to sift this all together. We have some all-purpose flour. So let's get that into our sieve. And we have some pumpkin spice mix. Now I'll put a link above of how I make my own pumpkin spice mix, and it'll also be in the description box below. But I have some of that, so that goes in as well. I have a little bit of cornstarch. That'll help to give some structure. We're not using eggs in this recipe, so the structure has to come from everything else. So we have a little bit of baking powder, which will help, and we have some sea salt here. So let's get that in there. All right, and we're just gonna sift all of that together. And any remaining lumps, just work them through with your hands. Our dry ingredients are now sifted together, and we're gonna get this into the bowl with our sugar and butter. Okay, so I'm gonna put about half of our dry ingredients in with the butter and sugars, and try not to get any on the table if I can. I'm going to put half in now, and I'll put the other half in as soon as I get this mixed in. Now remember, once we put the flour in, we don't want to overmix because we don't want to have tough cookies. So I'm just going to pulse it until I see most of the flour incorporated. And I see that already. So let's get the rest of the flour in. Okay, without spilling it, hopefully. There we go. And let's mix that in as well. Okay, again, you don't want to overmix, so just until it's mixed in. All right, so it's looking pretty sandy right now, as you can see. Very dry and very sandy, but that's because we haven't put the pumpkin in yet. So let's go ahead and get our pumpkin in. Now, we did add a little bit of orange food coloring to our pumpkin just to boost the color a little bit, to make them a little bit more festive looking. And I'm going to also take the vanilla and I'm going to mix that into my pumpkin. Go ahead and get that right in here, mix it in, and get all of this into our bowl. Let's put in our pumpkin. I also did drain some of the liquid off of the pumpkin. Pumpkin puree can be very wet, and we don't really need all that moisture. So I did drain a little bit of that off. Okay, let's go ahead and continue mixing this together. You just want to keep going until it pulls away from the sides of the bowl a little bit. Okay, we're just about there. Once you hear your stand mixer start to struggle a bit, you know that the dough is just about ready. So we're going to go ahead and stop it. And you can see now we do have more of a dough formed here, and that we can press together into a dough. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to separate my dough. Now, the recipe that I'm giving is for the total recipe for the everything but the pumpkin pie cookie. But what I'm going to actually do in the video today is I'm going to split my batter in half, and I'm going to make half the everything but pumpkin pie cookie, and the other half I'm going to make pumpkin and chocolate cookie. Okay, but if you want to make the everything but pumpkin pie cookie, just follow the ingredients and quantities here in the description box and also in my newsletter, because that's what I've posted. Okay, so let me get this out and get it divided into two, and we'll continue. All right, I have my dough divided in half. I have half over here in this bowl and half in the mixing bowl. I'm just going to go ahead and add in my mix-ins for the everything but the pumpkin pie cookie. So I have some white chocolate chunks. I took a Lindt bar and I chopped that up. Let's pop that in. I have some dried cranberries, and I have some chopped toasted pecans. So all that goes in. All right, let's go ahead and give this just a quick mix, not very long, until it's incorporated. And that's all we need. Okay, so that's half of our dough. We're gonna go ahead and put that into a separate bowl, turn it out into this bowl here, and then we're gonna go ahead and do our chocolate dough, our chocolate pumpkin cookie dough. Let's make sure we get everything out because we don't want any cross-contamination. That looks pretty good. So let's put that aside, put our bowl back. Okay, get the rest of our dough, the other half of our dough, into the bowl. There we go. And this time we're going to add in our chocolate chips, our semi-sweet chocolate chips. Let's go ahead and do that. And just again until it's incorporated, which doesn't take but a few seconds. And we're there. So we have our two doughs ready. Our everything but the pumpkin pie dough right here, and our chocolate pumpkin dough right here. So let's form these into balls and get them into the freezer. Okay, let's go ahead and start with our everything but the pumpkin pie cookie dough. And we're going to make dough balls of 120 grams. If you don't have a scale, don't worry. You just want your total dough. You need to divide that into about 12 cookies. So you can figure that out, just divide in half, then half and half again until you get 12 dough balls. But we have a scale, so we're going to use it. So let me grab some of this dough and see how much I got here. 86, 104. I'm only going to do a couple of these, and then that's 120. And then we'll come back. I don't want to bore you to death. So you don't want to press these really hard. You just want to bring it together and leave it kind of rough looking. And so that's what it looks like. Doesn't it look great? That's our first dough ball. So there it goes into our bowl. And now we'll do one of the just pumpkin and chocolate. Again, 120 grams. So let's get 120 out here. And almost. Okay, there we go, 120. So just want to gather that together again. If you lose any chocolate chips, just press them back in. And again, you don't want to compress too hard. You just want to bring it together into a ball shape. These are artisan cookies. They're not going to be perfect. They're going to be kind of chunky and craggly looking. That's what you want. All right, I'm going to go ahead and finish these all up and we'll be right back. All right, we are back and we have all of our dough formed into nice balls. So we're just going to place these. Here we have the everything but the pumpkin pie cookie dough. We're going to place these quite a distance apart. They will spread. They're not going to spread a whole lot, but let's go ahead and be safe and get about 5 on a sheet. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get these into the freezer for at least a couple hours and preferably overnight because we're going to bake these from frozen. So let me get these in the freezer, and as soon as they're frozen, we're going to bring them back and we're going to get these babies baked and we're going to try them out. So we'll be back, in a few hours. Guess what? These are now frozen and they're ready to bake. Now, if these are going to be pretty tall and chunky cookies, if you want something a little flatter, then before you freeze them, you need to press down on each one a little bit and make it more like into a puck type shape. If you don't like the big, tall, chunky cookies. And you'll see what these look like after we bake them. So we have our everything but the pumpkin pie cookie dough over on the left side. And we have our pumpkin chocolate cookie dough over here on the right side. We're going to bake these at about 375 degrees Fahrenheit in a convection oven. That's about 190 degrees Celsius. I'll be putting all of the baking requirements right here on screen for the different kinds of ovens, different temperatures, and also in the description box below. So don't worry. So let's get these into the oven and we'll be right back in about 16 minutes. Okay, these babies are out of the oven and they've cooled down quite a bit. They're not completely cool, but we're gonna go ahead and dig in and try them out. Look at them, they're big, they're tall, they're kind of knobby looking, but that's the way you want them. These are New York style cookies. Very artisan looking, if you will. Okay, so I have my glass of milk ready here. I'm just gonna grab one of these that's kind of closest to me. This is one of the everything but the pumpkin pie cookies. Over here we have on this side, we have just the chocolate chip pumpkin cookies. So let's break this open. Now, these will be, the reason they're called everything but the pumpkin pie cookie is the white chocolate gives it kind of a creaminess that you have in a pumpkin pie, and then the crisp outer part of the cookie is nice and crunchy like the crust of a pumpkin pie. And then inside we have that nice kind of soft custardy pumpkin pie filling. We've got some nuts going on in there and a little bit of cranberry sauce on the side in the form of the cranberries in the cookie itself. So let's just break this open. Take a look inside. Oh my God, look at that. That looks wonderful. All right, so let's give it a try, shall we? Oh, and if you like this recipe, go ahead and click the subscribe button right down there. That'll help us a lot. It helps us to grow the channel and get other people to kind of learn about our content. We really appreciate it. So let's go ahead and try this. I'm going to put this in my mouth right now. Definitely pumpkin. Look at that creamy white chocolate in there. And some of the white chocolate that's come to the surface is kind of browned and it's very caramelized, and caramelized white chocolate is delicious all by itself. And these cranberries add a nice tartness. To balance out some of that sweetness, not overly sweet, but they definitely taste like a pumpkin pie, I can tell you that. These are Awesome. And then there are bits of toasted pecans in there as well. Okay, so if you do like this recipe, I need a glass of milk first. Give me a minute. Milk is always awesome with cookies. So if you like this recipe, how about trying this one out right up here? I think you're going to like it too. Thanks for stopping by the Mountaintop Kitchen today. It's been great. I'm going to keep on eating like I always do. See you later. Bye-bye.